Welcome to the Beer Frontier. My name is Gage.
And I'm Robert, and as ever, we're here for the beer. Today we're going to be looking at dark ale.
We're going to visit Ben, the home brewer.
We've got a couple of local dark ales to try.
We'll visit Enzo and see what he's cooking.
And we're going to taste a ripper of an imported dark ale.
And we'll go out on the road to a microbrewery.
So, Gage, tell me, what is a dark ale?
Well, some brewers or their marketing people decide to label their beer dark ale. So this beer style doesn't quite fit into our style map because the interpretations are so different. We have a dark ale from Healesville, which is brewed in open fermenters. We have a Tasmanian dark ale, which is brewed with added apple juice. And we have a Belgian beer, which is an ale, and it's dark. And I decided it would be a dark ale. It's actually a double, and we'll come back to doubles another day.
Okay, so the broader question here then is who or what decides what a beer style is?
The two most influential people or organisations have been firstly Michael Jackson.
Now, I'm assuming you don't mean the guy with one glove and the fancy dance steps.
No, Michael Jackson was a British journalist who wrote about whiskey and beer for decades. But for the last 30 years, it's been dominated by the American Brewers Association, which have identified over 150 styles. Now, I should make it clear that, of course, there's some beers which don't even fit into that style guide. So today, we've got beers, a couple of local ones. I'm not sure where they fit.
So basically, a dark ale can be whatever you want it to be.
Today, a dark ale is going to be whatever we want it to be.
Okay, great. Well, let's go and see what Ben the home brewer is doing.
Hello and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be speaking to you guys about sanitation and cleaning. When I left you last time, we were chilling down our wort or sweet beer, and we were on the hot side of brewing. Now we're going to be looking at the cold side of brewing, which in my opinion is the most important part of brewing to get right, because if we fail, we end up with infected beer, which is quite frankly disgusting. As a wise man once said to me, there are three very important things you have to remember to make great beer, and they are sanitation, and of course sanitation. So let's pay heed to that, and we're going to end up with some fantastic beer. All right, so let's have a look at what we're going to do here. This is our fermenter. This is finished doing a beer yesterday, I think it was, and basically I rinsed it out with cold water at the time to get the worst out. But because I was lazy, what we'll find is that we've got lots of cruds, or what we call soils, stuck inside there. They simply need to go, okay? So let's use our good old friend, a bit of hot water. You can't go past it. We're just gonna wipe all those cruds out. Simple as you like, it's really not hard. Keep going in there with the water, use as much as you like until you physically can't see any rubbish there whatsoever, and you know you've done a reasonably good job. Not good enough though, of course. What we need to do then, of course, is sterilize. So sterilizer choice, it's up to you. There's a million different products there on the market. To be honest, consult your homebrew shop, excuse me. But basically, if you want to, you could use bleach. Okay, bleach is a common household disinfectant and will work very, very well at sterilizing all of your equipment. Just be aware it is so effective that it will hang around. The important thing is that you get rid of it afterwards so that you rinse every single part of your equipment properly. So basically we're going to hot water this, then we want to be soaking it in bleach, any which way you like. You can spray it in a bottle, you can hand wipe it on there. That bleach contact time is pretty quick, okay? Then we want to be hot washing that off again. As far as all the little parts go, well, we want to take this thing apart. We've got airlocks there, and this little baby, the tap. Now she gets covered in an awful lot of cruds. Look at all that stuff there. So what I tend to use is these little things, which are pipe cleaners. Get in there, get in all the holes, nooks and crannies, get all that stuff out and get that soaking again in bleach. ditto. We then want to rinse the bleach out afterwards. So lots of hot water, make sure that bleach is gone. That's our sterilisation. Once that's complete and rinsed away, we then move on to sanitisation. May sound excessive, well, no, not really. So quite often this has gone into storage. We're bringing it back out. We're going to sanitise it, getting ready for our next brew, okay? What's important is there's been time for bugs and things like that to actually get back in there, wild yeast, bacteria, and we just want to wash the whole thing out once again with a use once only sanitizer. Choice of product, it's up to you. Once again, ask your homebrew shop. I personally tend to use something like that, which is iodine half the time. It tends to stain things yellow, but it certainly does the job, but there's a million products out there. Simply dilute it to the instructions, put it inside one of these spray bottles, pump it up. Okay, so we've primed this up. Basically want to set that on a nice fine mist spray, as we can see there. And you need to get in the fermenter and just go around and get into all the nooks and crannies. Okay, once we've given that a good running over, you can see it all dribbling around. You then will probably want to store it like that, up the other way, say 10-minute contact time, so let it do its stuff. I then usually, before brew day as well, get myself a nice little tub or bucket or whatever you want to use. That's going to keep everything in it that needs to be sanitised for your brew. So all your clean airlocks and everything else, your tubes, hoses, and of course the brewer's spoon. Basically, this is probably one of the the key things in making infections in beer. Not through any fault of its own, of course, usually due to the handler doing clever things like putting it on the bench where it's going to pick up bugs and of course end up in our beer. So if you're going to use these things, which of course you have to, make sure that you're always popping it back in the sanitizer. If you're going to have friends helping you out, or the little ones or whoever, make sure that they are clean and sanitized as well, because otherwise you're going to end up with a pretty funky tasting beer. All right, so there is one little saviour left in the brew house, as we say, and this is our good old friend methylated spirits. Basically, it's pure alcohol. So if we do need an instant sanitizer, we can use this, pop some into one of our little pump bottles, and that can go onto our hands. We need about 10-second contact time, and we know our hands are going to be pretty much sterilised. Also useful for little taps and nooks and crannies and stuff for instant sterilisation. So stick with your sanitizer if you can, but if you need straight away, meths is a good bet. So that's about it. I've covered the basics of sanitising and cleaning for you. As I say, you can never have too high a standard when it comes to sanitising your brew house. And if you do that and keep to those practices, you're going to end up with some fantastic quality beer. So go away and have some fun, and let's hope you get some good results. I will see you guys next week when I'll be looking at making up a yeast starter and showing you how to pitch that. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to the Keg Room, and now we're going to taste a couple of local dark ales. We have White Rabbit Dark Ale from Healesville in Victoria, and we have the Huon Dark Ale from Tasmania.
White Rabbit was established a couple of years ago by Little World Brewery. Little World also operates Little Creatures in West Australia and has an investment in Stone and Wood up in Byron Bay. Little World is actually a public company, but it's 40% owned by the Japanese brewer Kirin. They'd like to give the idea that they're independent. I'm not quite sure how independent they are. But the brewery out in Healesville is pretty interesting because they brew in open fermenters out there. Now this is quite different because other breweries in Australia all have a closed fermentation vessel, and this is considered to be a bit more authentic, although I think it's like a controlled atmosphere, so it's not quite that radical, but it sounds good and it looks good. And talking of sounding good and looking good, the Tasmanian beer, the Huon, ticks all the boxes, this one. They grow their own barley, they get it malted off site. The water's off the property of the farm. They grow their own hops. But then they go and add apple juice, and I'll come back to the apple juice in a moment. But they certainly give the image of a genuine independent business, very interested in sustainability.
Yeah.
All sounds good.
Yeah, clean and green and all that
Clean
stuff.
and green.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the White Rabbit?
Well, the White Rabbit, straight up, it's got a very nice fruity, citrusy sort of smell, slightly hoppy smell too. But you taste it and it's really bitter, so over the top hop. So it certainly smells better than it tastes. I don't know if it's that drinkable in itself really. It's a 2-star beer for me.
Yeah, this is like a modern American microbrewery beer. There's nothing subtle about it. You know, lots and lots of hops, and it seems to me that personal taste that there's a trend towards over-hopping beers. So it's okay, but just not that attractive. It would go well with some food, you know, barbecued loin of lamb chops, a little sort of fatty bit at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But nah, 2 stars for me. The Huon?
The Huon. Well, once again, it smells quite malty. You can't really smell the apple, but you can certainly taste it. And I have to say, it's, to my palate, it's just a little on the strange side. It's a little weird, really. If you like apple and Vegemite together, you might be attracted to this beer, but it's not to my palate at all. And I do find it a little strange, so I'm going to give it 1 star.
You're pretty hard. I'm going to give it 1.5 because a lot of love has gone into this beer, but essentially it's pointless. The beer would have been better if they hadn't added the apple juice.
Yeah, I agree.